Year 9s, I'm Miss Bowles, Head of Key Stage 4 Science, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming you all to the upper school to continue your science studies next year. This presentation will give you a little bit of a flavour for what GCSE Science will feel like and what you'll be studying.
Presentation will cover some of the key information around triple and combined science qualifications. We'll also look at what you can do to support your child in their science studies, how can they revise science effectively, and what they can expect from Year 10 and Year 11. So you'll probably be aware, but there are two different courses that we offer. Students will either be studying combined science if they've not chosen triple science as an option. If they do combined science, they'll end up with 2 GCSEs, 2 grades, and that will be an average across all 3 sciences, so taking into account their performance in biology, chemistry and physics. If they've chosen triple science, they will get 3 separate grades, which will reflect their performance in the 3 different sciences. And they will sit 2 papers in each of those sciences. Now, in terms of the papers, both combined and triple scientists will sit 6 papers at the end of the course. They will either sit higher papers, and on the higher paper they can score anywhere between a grade 9 and a grade 4, or they will sit the foundation paper where they can score anything between a grade 5 and a grade 1. Now, there's some crossover between the papers, so the second half of the foundation paper, some of those questions will appear on the first half of the higher paper. Now, combined scientists have to either pick higher or foundation for all 3 sciences, whereas triple can mix and match, so they could do a higher paper for biology and a physics paper they could choose to do as foundation. Now, in the papers, about 15% of the marks will come from questions related to experiments that they've done in school, so it's really important they take an active role in those. And about 20% of the marks will come from questions which require mathematical skills, so that's also an important thing to be aware of and to practice. Now, your child will hopefully know what tier of entry they are sitting at the moment. That does not mean it will be the tier of entry that they sit in Year 11. But as we move into Year 10, they need to become increasingly aware of, are they sitting more higher papers or foundation papers? Because it will have implications for their sixth form choices. Even if they're not considering a science A-level, lots of colleges require you to have a grade 6 in science. If you're studying something, for example, psychology or sports science, sometimes they will need you to have a grade 6. So it's worth thinking at this early stage about what courses they might be interested in and whether they do need to sit the higher paper in their science. So what challenges do the science qualifications pose? They are tough. The content that students will be learning is quite demanding, and it's all assessed at the end of the course now, so it's what we call linear qualifications. There is no more coursework, so all students will sit 6 science exams at the end of Year 11, and that will make up their grade. There's quite a lot of maths in these qualifications, again, which some students find difficult, and there are some tricky concepts which have been brought into these exams and our specification. It's really important that students learn how to structure their revision. They need to be revisiting and consolidating work that they've covered in Year 9 because it will support the foundations of Year 10 and Year 11, and they need to constantly go back through that. Another tricky thing that students struggle with is applying their knowledge. So it's not just about knowing the scientific content, it's also about reading questions and being able to apply their knowledge to that particular scenario that they may well not have seen before. The only way you can get better at that is through practice questions, practice papers. So how can you support your child with their revision? The most important thing to do after this presentation is to check whether they can log on to a website called Caboodle. Caboodle has got a range of resources. One of the most useful things it's got is the digital books. So the textbooks that we use in class, if they log into Caboodle and click on the tab digital book, they can access all of those pages that we've done in class, and they're an incredible source of information, notes, and also practice questions. The other tab that's useful to have a look at is the resources tab. The resources tab will have quizzes, practice questions, it even has podcasts for students to access and to find something that suits their revision style, their learning style, but there's lots of fantastic things on there. If they can't log in, please just get in touch with their science teacher and we can reset their login. So how can you actually revise science effectively? This is a question I get asked very frequently actually. One of the key things is to condense information. So that could be into the form of a mind map, of flashcards, bullet points, or they could even try teaching someone at home. I find that's very, very effective, and students have got to learn what works best for them. This is something, the next point they can do themselves at the moment when remote learning is happening. They can ensure that their notes are organised and kept in a folder so they can be used again at the end of year 11, they can be used for mocks, they can be used throughout the year. And it's really important, if they make these notes, you want to ensure that the time they've spent doing them has not been wasted. So keep them in a folder, get them sorted with some file dividers just to help them out with that. I'd also encourage them to take all of the end of topic tests very seriously. In year 10 and 11, we will be having assessments throughout the year, and it's important that they revise for those assessments because it will help with the final exam. It means they're going over notes they already understand, but also it will play into and be important for what tier of entry they sit. So it is important that they consider those end of topic tests seriously and access any revision resources that we post on To Show My Homework. Past papers, there are lots of past papers that are available, and as I've mentioned before, applying their scientific knowledge is crucial, and that's really what gets them the marks. So ensuring that they've had a good go at some past papers. So what to expect in year 10 and year 11. So we study a range of chapters across all three sciences for both combined and triple science. The triple scientists study slightly more simply because they have 3 hours extra a week, and the exams that we have throughout year 10 and year 11 will be including year 9 content as well. So it's important that they don't just forget about this year that they've done and they actually really do understand it, and because they will be assessed on that as well. So I hope that's answered most of your questions, but my email address is down there at the bottom. If you want me to answer anything else specific, then please do email me, and thank you very much for listening.